now that the warmer weather is finally here, what better way to enjoy than to get out and get on that bike? Joining me now is Matt Feiner of the Devil's Gear Bike Shop to show you a few easy ways to tune up your bike. Matt, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Did you ride right over? It's pretty close.
I did ride over here. We're right around the corner.
You did. Pretty easy. Before we get going about how to get the bike back in shape, let's talk about the event that's coming up this weekend.
Yeah, Rock to Rock, this Saturday the 26th. It's our 6th annual ride. It's a fundraiser for 26 different environmental groups here in New Haven. We're shooting for 1,500 riders this year.
Wow.
We're shooting to raise $200,000 this year, and we're almost at our goals, but we still need more people to come on board and sign up.
Great.
And you can sign up at rocktorock.com, and you can sign up right up till the morning of the event.
Oh, that's great. You can just kind of show up, right?
Yep.
Very good. And what type of cyclists can come?
Anybody. Families up to like pro bike racers, because there's 4 different routes. There's an 8-mile family ride.
Okay.
And that's at a nice leisurely pace, and it's through a lot of the parks in New Haven. There's a 20-mile ride, a 40-mile ride, and a metric century this year.
What is a metric century?
A metric century is a 64-mile ride, and so it gets you in your category of century riding, where it's a goal for a lot of people to ride a metric century.
I see. And what will you be doing this year?
I'll be pumping up tires and oiling chains. We provide support at the beginning of the ride, during the ride, and at the end of the ride.
I see.
Yeah.
All right, well, before you can get on any of those tracks, you gotta have to get your bike in shape, right?
Yeah, you do.
So you pull it out of the garage, the nice weather's here. What are the first things we need to look for?
Well, first thing you want to do is dust your bike off if it's been in the garage, if it's been sitting in a shed. You want to give it a nice wipe down, because that lets you inspect the bicycle for any problems. Okay. The next thing you want to do is oil it. Oil your chain, oil all your pivot points on the bicycle so that they function correctly. And then the next thing you should do is pump up your tires.
Okay.
Make sure they're up to pressure. The sidewall of every tire will tell you exactly where your pressure should be. And this is something you should definitely do days before the ride. That way you can look at your bike the following day after you've done this little tune-up and make sure the tires are still up to pressure. Make sure they haven't dry rotted over the winter time or wet rotted over the winter time. But then the simplest things, what you're going to do to the bicycle is lock the front brake, push on the seat, make sure the front brake works.
Okay.
And then lock the rear brake and push on it, make sure the rear brake is dragging. That's a safety check so that you know that your bicycle is going to stop. And then run it through the gears.
Okay.
Make sure, spin each wheel, make sure it's not rubbing the brake, make sure it's running true. Grab the wheel, shake it side to side, make sure the bearings aren't loose. Yep. And then actually take it for a little ride, especially if it's your child's bike. You might not be riding it because it's your kids, but you want your kids' bikes to be the safest bikes.
That probably makes sense.
And then the next thing is go inside, find your helmet.
Well, I was just going to ask you. I mean, you can't ride without a helmet.
Right, and
State law.
State law. Yep. And at this event, you cannot ride without a helmet on. And so it's important. You should always ride with a helmet on, no matter how far you're going. Even if it's a mile down the street, you should always have a helmet on.
Yeah, save your life, right?
It's common sense. Yeah.
And what could happen to the bike over the winter?
A lot of things can happen to the bicycle over the winter. You heard me mention earlier wet rot, dry rot. Dry rot is inner tubes can rot. If your bicycle is in a dry environment, they become the latex in it slowly seeps out and they become very brittle. Or it can wet rot if it's sitting somewhere like in a wet basement, and that's just as bad. So the tire becomes the composition of the tire is not as strong, and you can risk having a blowout.
Yeah. All right.
And things that you want to make sure, you just want to make sure your bike's ready to go the day of the event. That way, the day of the event, you can just come out and ride.
Sounds fun, right?
Yes, it is.
All right, let's put all the information up on the screen if you want to do that. Of course, after you go through all the safety checks here, you could put the bike to use at the Rock to Rock Earth Day ride. We'll have that info right there. It's Saturday, April 26th in New Haven. It benefits 26 environmental groups right around the state, so that's great news. And what time does it start? Are you going to be out there early? 8 o'clock.
It starts at 8 o'clock.
That's early, but we'll be there. Sounds fun.
And we'll be there earlier, too. So
very good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being here.